Well, welcome everyone to the afternoon of Friday of the NPA annual meeting. And right now I have the distinct pleasure of introducing our keynote speaker this year, who is Paula Chambers. Paula Chambers was writing her dissertation in English at The Ohio State University in 1999 when she realized she would probably be happier in a non-academic career. Not finding much information or options for humanities PhDs, she initially created a listserv about her needs, which became a national resource for thousands of PhDs and PhD students, as well as career counselors, so a wide variety of people interested in this subject. She continued to manage the list while pursuing her own successful post-academic career as a grant writer. And in 2010, she transformed this listserv into Versatile Ph.D., which today is a leading non-academic career resource for PhDs in all disciplines who are interested in non-academic careers. Currently, over 60,000 people have joined Versatile Ph.D., and there are over 75 universities that subscribe to this service. Dr. Chambers runs Versatile Ph.D. from her home office in Los Angeles, and she's excited to be here today to talk to you about versatility, which is the ability to nimbly transition from one career into another, and how you and we, I guess I should say, can find our own versatility by articulating our skills and the results that we can achieve using those skills. So please join me in giving a very warm welcome to our keynote speaker, Paula Chambers.
Thank you. Well, thank you all for coming today. It is a real honor for me to be speaking to you. Postdocs have been on my mind and increasingly in my heart for quite some time, and so it is a real pleasure to be here with postdocs and postdoc officers. Let me ask you, how many of you are postdocs yourself? Raise your hand. Majority. And the rest of you are postdoc officers of some kind, yes? Raise. Okay, very good, very good. Discipline-wise, how many of you are in arts and humanities? No hands. Wow, I thought maybe two, right? Okay, how many of you are in social science? Okay, a few. And the rest of you are in STEM, science and engineering, yes? Science, engineering, health. Everybody, I'm sure. Okay, very good. Well, versatility is, the reason I chose Versatile PhD as the name of my resource is because versatility is the thing that I want to give to everyone who uses my service. Versatile is what I want you to be and what, in fact, you already are. Some dictionary definitions of versatility: capable of doing many things competently, having many uses or serving many functions, and capable of moving freely in all directions. That's a good one. Capable of moving freely in all directions. These dictionary definitions are part of my concept of versatility, specifically for PhDs, that in our time in the academy, we learn just by osmosis, simply because the things we study, we have to get narrower and narrower and narrower in our research as a rule. We come to think of ourselves as narrow, and that is not true. We have to focus narrowly in order to accomplish meaningful research. But the unfortunate psychological side effect of the narrowing is a narrowing of our self-concept. You are more versatile than you think you are already. And in today's world, change is happening all the time, right? But the pace of change is accelerating faster and faster. Things that you previously could count on, you can't count on anymore. And with technology and social media, the pace of change is accelerating. And so in that kind of an environment, versatility, the ability to nimbly jump from rock to rock in the stream of life, if you will, is a critical survival skill. No longer are you going to be one thing, for your whole life. I'm a, And that's going to be, there is no more stable, single identity that you can occupy for your entire life. And moreover, your interests and desires can and will change. you will have experiences and you will be surprised by some of the things that you will learn from your experiences, including, all of your experiences shape you, change you, and teach you. And you learn more about the world and about yourself. And those surprises may require a change of direction for you. That certainly happened to me quite a bit in my journey. To be brief about it, I'm going to tell my story because it's relevant to the content that I'm going to transmit to you today. Because there are some recurring themes in my story that I've woven into the concepts that I want to share with you today. So when I went to grad school, I was certain that, oh yes, I want to be a professor of rhetoric and composition. I want to work at an R1 university. I want to teach and research my life away in rhetoric and composition, which was my particular sub-slice of English. And then when I got to grad school, I had good experiences in grad school, mind you, good experiences, good teachers, great classes, great mind-opening experiences. But the environment of the academy, as I got to my third and fourth year, I noticed some things about myself. I noticed that I am a rather impatient person. I like for things to happen, and I like them to happen now or really soon. And I felt that the pace of change in the university was kind of slow, with some exceptions, but generally an institution is an institution. It is stable. That is its strength. It's not supposed to be constantly changing all the time, right? And so you can try to change, and things do change, but the whole beast is basically a slow-moving beast. And I felt that with my impatient, proactive, problem-solving kind of temperament, this has nothing to do with intellect, temperament, I felt that I was likely to feel frustrated in an academic career, just temperamentally. That was one thing. And also, I felt, as my scholarship advanced, that my reading audience was getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And for me, highly subjective, but for me, that kind of was like, wah, wah, wah. I sort of felt like, well, if only my committee of 4 people, maybe my mom, maybe my husband, maybe, and like 5 scholars who I knew who were doing research in exactly my little spot, if they're the only people that are going to read this, even though I thought it was cool, that wasn't enough for me because it didn't have enough impact on the world. Now, impact is going to be one of those themes in my talk today. Impact, like beauty, is in the eye of the beholder, is very subjective. One given thing, like say my dissertation, might have made another dissertator feel like she was having a lot of impact, right? So I'm not saying that scholarship doesn't have impact, or that my work wasn't important, or that your work isn't important. I'm saying that impact is a subjective thing that I personally have to feel, and I think everyone needs to feel that they are having the kind of impact on the world that they want to have. Totally subjective, not judging anything. So I didn't feel like I was having enough impact in my scholarship or even ultimately in my teaching, because I was teaching freshman composition and it's a required class, so I wasn't, most of the students were there to check a box, and I would try to awaken them, and I would be successful in many cases, but basically it was like goodbye, on, and I never got to see them become better writers using my teaching. I never got to see the impact of what I did. So I decided while I was dissertating that I wanted a non-academic career because I felt, and I think I was right about this, there was more opportunity for me to have the kinds of impact that I wanted to have, and for my proactive, problem-solving, initiative-taking, impatient temperament to be a little happier, a little more comfortable. So, but I didn't know what to do. I had no idea. I was lucky that my advisors were very, genuinely wonderful people who did not shame me and didn't even want to shame me. So thank God I escaped that nightmare. But they didn't know what to do. They didn't know what I could do, and I didn't either. So I thought, well, surely I can't be the only humanities Ph.D. to be wondering what else can I do with my humanities Ph.D. So I thought, okay, someone ought to start a listserv. That's what you did in the late 90s before Facebook and LinkedIn, right? Listserv, email discussion list. I still have a great affection for the medium. But somebody ought to start a listserv about non-academic careers for humanities PhDs. Being that initiative-taking schmo who volunteers for stuff all the time, I said, oh, I'll just do that. And it made a great dissertation procrastination project. So I started this listserv, and it grew. I mean, my thought was not to position myself as the expert, because I didn't know. That's why I started the list. I was hoping that my fellow humanities grad students and I would pool our knowledge, right? And then we would all be smarter. Well, that didn't exactly happen. It was a big, growing, silent list. And so I started to find PhDs in humanities who had left the academy and bring them onto the list as guest speakers or guest emailers, as the case may be. And so then the list really took off, because these people actually knew something to share. So the list grew and grew. And meanwhile, I finished my dissertation, and I didn't even go on the academic job market. What a hassle averted. A lot of time saved there. And I thought, okay, well, what shall I do then? All right, I think I will be a writing trainer, because what I knew of myself from the experience I had had in the academy up to that time was that I was a really effective writing teacher. So I had this identity that already existed for myself in my mind, subconsciously even, writing teacher. And so I thought, okay, non-academic career, you take your identity and export it to the non-academic world. So non-academic writing teacher, of course. Well, epic fail, epic fail. And the reason why was another learning experience for me. That the people who were supposedly going to pay me to teach writing were corporations, right? They would hire me as a freelance trainer, right? But corporations are after profit. And I could never successfully express to them how my writing workshops were going to save them money or increase their profits. And because of that, I just never connected with my target audience. Is that a failure? You could cast it as a failure, but I learned, oh, I don't have corporate values. I'm not motivated by profit. Oh, well then, in that case, the nonprofit sector would be a better place for me, because nonprofits are mission-driven, right? If I care about the cause that the nonprofit is working for, then that will be a better fit. And I was right about that. So I became a grant writer, and I did very well. I had 3 positions of progressive responsibility over a 5 or 6 year period, and I wound up director of development at an arts organization in Los Angeles. So meanwhile, all this time, I was still running the listserv. Even though I had a non-academic career that made me happy, I was now enjoying sort of being the facilitator and camp counselor of this community that I had created. And it's never occurred to me at that time that that listserv would become my signature contribution to planet Earth. It never occurred to me that that was my career. I thought, oh, okay, grant writer. I had created a new identity for myself, right? Grant writer. And that was the space that I occupied in my own consciousness. But it wasn't until some years later, in the late 2000s, when I was invited to attend a career counselor conference of counselors who work with grad students in university settings, a really small but passionate group. The way they spoke to me, the way they thanked me, the way they treated me showed me, oh my God, Work for Us, which is the name of my listserv, stupid name, but anyway, Work for Us has had so much more impact than I realized. Because when you're doing something electronically, I mean, I was just at home on my keyboard, you don't see the faces of the people that you're helping. You know the numbers, oh wow, 2,000, gee, we just passed 2,000 members, awesome. But it's not the same as seeing the impact, but going to that group and having them tell me what a big difference it makes in people's lives, that changed everything for me. It was like, oh, it was like that moment in The Wizard of Oz, you've always been having an impact. And so that was when I decided, okay then, turning a page, I will plan to when I can, get out of my grant writing career, even though it was successful, right? Because I was having more of an impact, but I want to have even more. I want to take this thing that I've created, that I now know had the kind of impact I wanted to have, right? And build upon it. develop it so that it can become a financially sustainable something, you know? And so I had to figure out how, which was a long process. But anyway, in 2010, I launched Versatile Ph.D. as an institutional subscription service providing high-quality inside information to PhD students from PhDs outside the academy. Exact details, and I'll tell you more about what the content is. But anyway, so I created this business, and now I'm 6 years in, and just last year, I finally started taking an actual salary for the first time, which, like, I thought it would only take 3 years. Okay, it took 5, but I did get there. And it's like an assistant professor salary. It's not a great, but it's a salary, right? And I employ I'm an employee, so I make payroll and I pay myself. So this is very exciting, very exciting. And most importantly, I feel that what I do is having exactly the kind and the scope and the quality of impact that I want to have on people's lives. So enough about me. Let's talk more about you. When we go to grad school, we pick up this metaphor, the pipeline, right? Students go in, professors come out, right? We know this isn't true, right? The people who really know that it's a leaky pipeline, right? But the truth is, recent research has shown that it's really a branching career pipeline, branching. Students come in, some of them may become tenure-track professors or PIs. Some become adjuncts, and the adjuncts might join the tenure-track pipe, or more often go into other careers. Some become postdocs, that's you. And so you are somewhere in that arcing of the postdoc pipe, and you don't know yet whether you're going to go into the tenure-track pipe or pop out into other careers. Me, I'm the green. I just went, boop, right into another career. But hey, all the pipes are equally legit. This is where the flow of liquid has to go, right? People flow in, they got to flow out. This is what the pipeline looks like in the humanities. Most humanities PhDs who don't pop right out like I did into other careers go into adjuncting. Some of them get on the tenure track, awesome for them. Very few become postdocs. Last figure I heard was only 8% of humanities PhDs become postdocs, but it's a pipe. And you know, most of the adjuncts, I mean, you can only adjunct for so long with no benefits and no job security before it's like, okay, this is officially getting really old for me and my family, and you have to do something else, go into other careers. This is what it looks like in science, engineering, and health, where after they graduate, you know, a fairly small percentage become tenure track right away, a larger percentage go into postdocs, and really the largest percentages, if you imagine for-profit businesses and elsewhere as a big other careers category, that's the biggest pipe by far. You may already know this, but this is the overall trend of jobs in science, engineering, and health over time compared to tenure-track positions over time. The blue line is the number of PhDs in science, engineering, and health that have been awarded. The solid yellow line is the total cumulative number of tenure-track positions available. So let me ask you, seeing this information, seeing the pipeline images, seeing this chart, how does that make you feel? Shout out feelings to me.
Pissed off.
Pissed off. How else?
Overaccomplished with no money.
Overaccomplished with no money. Discouraged.
We're a dime a dozen.
Dime a dozen. Wow, those are kind of like this. And you know, this is not really much of an exaggeration. On the emotional side, the unconscious side of how you're feeling, you're going, oh my God, what's going to happen to me? Better on some days than others, right? But this is not an untrue picture. This is a fair representation of the despair and fear that many in your position feel. Fortunately, there is some good news. You are not alone, obviously. You heard your peers shouting out those feelings. You know, if 63,000 people joined Versatile PhD, that's a lot of people in the very same position that you're in. PhDs work in all sectors. They had to go somewhere, right? They went all kinds of places. Demand for graduate degrees is rising, especially STEM degrees, but even humanities degrees and social sciences. Demand for graduate education in general is rising as the world becomes much more tilted towards knowledge work. And your desires may change, like mine did, right? Oh, surprise, I've discovered new things about my temperament that I didn't know before grad school. Oh, and I discovered the lack of impact. Oh, well, that's an FYI that I couldn't have possibly had before I went, right? So you are having experiences all the time, and your desires may authentically, organically change. And you do have marketable skills. We'll delve deep into that today. And non-academic careers actually have some advantages. Number one, freedom to live wherever the heck you want. You can live anywhere you want. Pick the dream city, and you can live there and have a non-academic career. Not true in the academy, so not true. There is more variety in what you get to do. In the life of an academic, it's basically research or teaching or maybe committee work. And you can change the mix of that. You can maybe choose different topics to research, but the nature of the activity is fundamentally more or less the same. Whereas outside the academy, if you don't like being a grant writer, you can just go be something completely different. If you can get someone to hire you, which you probably can because you're smart. And there's higher income potential, obviously, and advancement opportunity. The promotions come much faster and sweeter outside the academy than inside. You can, and they're more tied to your actual accomplishments and less tied to other people's subjective judgments. Oh, is this person's work rigorous enough? Does she have enough merit? Right? It's much less about subjective judgments and more about the impact that you're having on the organization. Look, this person saved us all this time and trouble by figuring out how to do this process. Or she saved our reputation with that group when she had that communication with that person. Whatever it is, the impact is the coin of the realm outside the academy, not subjective judgments of merit and rigor. So that might appeal to some of you. So I wish somebody had told me this, because this would have really relieved a lot of uncertainty and pain on my part. You are always on this career development cycle in some place at all times. It was going through a career development cycle that got you into grad school and now into your postdoc, right? Maybe, I hope is there a pointer? Yes, there is. Maybe, you went through this process to figure out, yes, I want to go to grad school. You made your plan, you actually went, and then you went here again, right? And so maybe you went through this about, should I do a postdoc or not? And maybe now you're here, or maybe somewhere. You're somewhere on this, and you always will be, because humans are learning, evolving creatures. And when you're evolving, it feels weird, because you haven't yet experienced what you are being drawn towards. It's like every time I changed careers, it felt like this kind of surrealistic, this weird journey of transformation. It feels awkward and strange and a little scary. Get used to it, because you're going to be going through this multiple times in your life. This is how versatile you think you are. This is the thing. I want to go back. We are going to spend time today on a portion of number one, the know yourself piece. Interests, values, skills, assets, resources. We're going to focus on just the skills piece today. We're going to mine your academic experiences for the gold that lies inside there, the gold of the impact, the results that you have achieved even in your academic careers. You think you have this many skills. In truth, you have this many, because there are skills that you have and are using that are not being seen or valued in the context where you are using them, but that are seen and valued in other contexts. The skills that you all mostly have, these are the skills developed in most PhD programs. So just by virtue of completing a PhD program, you are probably pretty good at most of these things. And the skills that have been developed in your postdoctoral program, you get even more of the research methods, and you kind of mentally become a researcher, which is valuable in a research career, less so in non-research careers, but it is a thing that happens to you. It's one of those things that has happened to you in your postdoctoral study. And here's some soft skills that you may have picked up along the way. You'll notice some themes resonate here with Plenary 1 this morning. Conflict resolution, cross-cultural communication, All of these things are, and leadership, motivating others, leadership. You may have experienced some of these things without even noticing it. Like, for example, oh, okay, I'll skip to this. Skills employers want more of in PhDs. This has been, research has shown this. Employers who hire PhDs and observe them in the workplace, this is what they have said that they want the PhDs to have more of. In 2012, they said this: teamwork, project management, oral presentation, delivering outcomes on time and on budget, and communicating with lay audiences. Skills generally in demand. This is skills that all kinds of organizations, including universities, by the way, need. Marketing, social media, all these skills are what organizations need. A study was done just a couple years ago that looked at a typical liberal arts bachelor's grad, which I know that's not what you are, but imagine a liberal arts bachelor grad that doesn't have any of these skills. They did an analysis of all the jobs that that person could reasonably apply for, and it was, X number of jobs. Adding any one of these skills made X into 4X. It multiplied it like by 4 times. So that means that these skills are hotly in demand everywhere. You don't have to have, I'm not telling you you have to have all these skills. Even just one of these skills will enhance your employability outside and, by the way, inside the academy as well. You are using skills already in every project, not all of which you are even noticing or valuing. So here's the example. A little project I did in grad school. It was in my first year. I had arrived in my rhetoric and composition Ph.D. program, which I was so excited about. And I was given the student manual for the Ph.D. program that I was in. And I read it and I thought, gee, this is actually not that great. This manual is kind of a little unclear on these things, and it doesn't convey the passion and the qualities of the PhD program that I perceived that made me want to go there. So I just kind of mentioned it to the chair of Rhetoric and Comp. I said, this manual, how long ago was this written? And she said, oh, that thing's old. We've been wanting to develop it. And she said, why don't you do it? And I said, okay, gosh, really, me? I'm just new. I don't know the program. And she said, put together a committee of like some grad students and do it. I don't even know if she was just trying to kind of get me off, out of her desk, right? But I thought, okay, well, I will then. And so I picked some the friendliest faces I could find, like, okay, you'll do. And invited people to work with me on this little project. And I said, oh, okay, sure. And so we had a meeting and looked at the manual, decided, okay, gee, there's 5 people in the meeting, the manual's in 5 sections, that's kind of awesome, And so we talked about the manual, and I didn't think, oh, I'm going to lead the effort to write this manual. I was just like being the person who took the initiative and reached out and recruited other schmoes like myself who were willing to do work to achieve something, right? And then when nobody at the meetings had a plan or came up with a schedule, I just thought, well, it kind of bugs me that we don't know what we're doing next, so I'll propose what we might do next, right? So I said, well, how about we each take a section and we meet in a month and with a revision, And they said, okay, good, done. I did not feel like a leader. I just felt like a person who was a little bugged by this problem, this inadequate manual, and then who was a little bugged that nobody else was deciding what was going to happen next. So somebody needed to decide what was going to happen next. And so just to resolve that little buggedness on my part, I did. I was practicing leadership. I did not know that. I was using all of these skills, many of which have appeared on those lists that you saw of skills employers want. I was using all of these skills in that project. I didn't even know it. So here's where you get out your worksheet, the one with the table, the empty table on it. The other page, your other page has a lists of all of those skills that are on my slides so that you can use it as a handy reference. In the next 3 minutes, individually by yourself, pick a project, some project, any project that you just feel like thinking about today. and write down for yourself what the project is, and then list in the left-hand column what were some of the skills that you used. If you can find the skills you used in that list of skills employers want, definitely write those in. Because you probably used, 12 skills, but pick the ones that are desired by employers. 3 minutes, go. Thirty more seconds. Okay, you just did step 1 of a 3-step process that I want to convey to you today, which I hope that you will remember and be able to do this on your own. It's not that hard when you break it down into steps. The second step is to quantify those skills into accomplishments. You can say, oh, I have data analysis skills, but tell me something that you did in that project that is specific and quantified. Like instead of data analysis, analyzed 46 data sets and identified the blah, 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 right? There's a number in there. There's a number in there. The reason for this, here's some examples. Data analysis, analyzed 3,000 ATOM database, identified 45 new major donor prospects and 96 lapsed donors. That's an accomplishment from my actual resume in my final fundraising position. As an example of social media skill, if that's one of the ones you used, just as a hypothetical example, managed 4 social media accounts, built Twitter followers from 102 to 4,500 in 4 months. Pretty good accomplishment. I did make that up. But anyway, you see the value of numbers. It's better than, like the first one could be stated, analyzed our database and came up with some new prospective major donors. Well, that's nice. That's nice. That's good. But it's not nearly as good as analyzed a 3,000 item database, identified 45 new major donor prospects and 96 lapsed donors. That's like, yeah. Anything sounds more meaningful when it is quantified. So now, here's step 2. Look at those skills that you listed that you used in that project and quantify them. Write a quantifiable statement like the ones in the previous slide, which I'll go back to and leave up. Write something specific that you did using that skill. If you can do 2 or 3, all the better. Here's the examples. 3 minutes, go. don't worry if you don't know the exact numbers. It's okay. Just mock them up. You can get the exact facts later. It's okay. Be sure that every accomplishment you're writing has at least one number in it. One more minute. Okay, that's good enough for now. Now here's the third layer, and this is where it gets exciting. This is where you're going to learn to think in a less academic way, in a more non-academic way, more about impact. The impact that what you did had. This is not as often considered in the academy, although it still is. But outside the academy, positive practical results are gold. So this kind of results I'm talking about, did your accomplishment save time? Did it save labor? Did it save or earn money? Did it save or earn something else? It's not all about money. How about a relationship, an important relationship? How about the reputation of your lab in a certain community? How about relationships off campus, right? It's not all about money. There are important priorities other than money that your accomplishments might have resulted in, right? Or did it help a group meet a goal? Did it help your PI meet the goal of whatever? And then what did that do? That helped your university increase its reputation or whatever. I'm making it up. But why does what you do matter? You just wrote the what. Now we're digging in for the so what. Why did it matter? Now, not all of our accomplishments, matter as much as others, right? I ate breakfast today. That was an accomplishment. It mattered to me. It doesn't matter to you or anybody else, right? So some of the things that we do are more resultsy than others, and that's okay. You don't always have to be saving the world, right? This is how results look on a resume. This is a section from my resume, the major gifts section, which is really funny because I started as a grant writer and I initially thought, ew, I would never do major gifts because that's basically about sitting down with rich people and asking them for money. That's what major gifts basically is in the realm of fundraising. But as director of development, I had to do that, and I shocked myself by having a great deal of success in this area that I thought was really weird to me. So I identified and researched, as you saw in my bullet earlier, 45 new major gift prospects, conducted face-to-face solicitations with 30 of them, that's a lot of lunch, ladies and gentlemen, and got commitments from 21. That's a big difference compared to like the total number of major donors, which we get to the next budget. Re-engaged 35, actually the last, re-engaged 35 lapsed major donors by conceiving and producing 3 donor engagement events. Pretty good. People who had been disengaged, re-engaged, good. Increased the total number of major donors from 22 to 78, and increased major gift revenue from $45,100 to $242,984 in 2 years. I shocked even myself, right? But that is impact. I brought in a lot more money for my nonprofit organization using those skills and doing those accomplishments. So, the third step, in that third column, take one of your accomplishments, pick the one that to you seems the most resultsy, and write at least one positive practical result. It doesn't have to be 2, really, 1 is enough. 1 is enough. Positive practical result. Did it save time? Did it save money? Like, you know, oh gosh, I caught that the wrong chemical was about to go in the solution. It would have ruined the whole study. I caught that. I saved the study, right? Write that in the third column. Write what the results is. Write what the results is, said the English Ph.D. Then in the space below your now filled out table, draft a 1 resume bullet. Pick the best result that you can come up with from that one project that you're working on today, and draft a resume bullet. The first word of your bullet should be a past tense active verb of one of the skills that you used, right? Like analyzed, led, wrote, whatever the active that the skill was. I'll go back to this example slide and keep this up so that you can look at that as you draft your resume bullets. So 3 minutes to do this for yourselves, and be sure to focus in on the most resultsy thing. 3 minutes, go. One more minute. Okay. Now I'm going to ask you to turn to each other. Put yourselves in little groups of 2, 3, or 4. Don't go more than 4, that's too many. But 2 is fine, 3 is fine, 4 is fine. And help each other by reading aloud your resume bullet to the other people and ask them how it sounds. And other people, feel free to make suggestions, like maybe something could be clarified a little more, or maybe they see a result that you didn't even see or put in, or maybe a different word might be better or something. So we'll give you five or 6 minutes to group up and help each other out. 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes. Hello, Bill. 2 more minutes. Get to your last person now. Okay, wrap it up. Wrapping it up. Bill, turn me on. All righty. Are we about done now? 7 minutes is up. Bill, I don't think they're hearing me. They are? Okay. All righty, folks. Come back, come back. Maybe they need another minute. All right, wherever you are, just press the pause button on your conversation. I'm sure I hope everyone got addressed by their peers. Was there anyone who did not yet get a chance to share their bullet? Okay, good, very good, very good. So now, I'd like to ask anyone who is really happy about their resume bullet that includes a quantified accomplishment and a result to volunteer to share it, to stand up and boldly share it. Yes, go ahead, brave soul.
We did 10 public speaking projects to earn the Competent Communicator Award, earning our club the Toastmasters President's Distinguished Club Award.
Excellent, excellent. Doesn't that sound awesome, right? A number and a result. That's really good. Somebody else like to share a really good bullet? I can wait forever. All right, stand up, sir. Loud.
Led a team in the design and cloning of a candidate oncogenic kinase and for its screening against a compound library that resulted in 12 putative inhibitors.
Awesome. I don't understand what you mean, but it sounds awesome. Very, very good. Very good. Someone else, please. Okay, go ahead.
Actually produced a video aimed at engaging our existing donors to our institute into a new donation cycle, and then we got 1,000 clicks on YouTube.
I would like to ask you to say that again. Face the majority of the room and say it a little louder and bolder.
Okay, so I produced a video aimed at our existing donors to engage them into a new donation cycle, and then we got 1,000 clicks on YouTube, but I don't know how much money we got.
Yeah, but you can find that out, right? That is findable out, and you just find that out, and then you say, resulting in 1,000 clicks on YouTube and a net increase of blah, blah, whatever the dollar amount was. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So let me ask you, how does this make you feel? Optimistic? Accomplished? Skilled? Awesome. Excellent. Excellent work. Next, this is where this is all leading, is that you now have been through this 3-step process of skills, accomplishments, results. And when you do this like 18,000 more times with all of the other things you've done in your entire work history, you know, obviously the more resultsy things, right? You pick those and break them down like this. If you keep doing that, you will, and write them down in a Word doc, you will be creating a master resume. This master resume is not your CV, and it is not a resume that you would submit for a non-academic job. It is like a giant pantry of everything you've ever done, a giant comprehensive list of all of the impacts that you've ever had, all the results you've ever achieved, and that you will then be able to pick and choose, pull ingredients off the shelf to make the perfect resume mix for each job that you apply to, or each kind of job that you apply to. You will be able to mix and match and just copy, paste, copy, paste. You won't have to go through a whole self-reinvention process every time you apply for a job, because you've already done the hard work. This is hard work, make no mistake. This is not just some lightweight little professional development thing. This is like serious hard work to think about the things you've done. It is hard for us to see ourselves. It's hard for us to see what we've done and to value ourselves and to dare to say what we achieved. It can be scary. You can feel like, oh, well, this isn't really very exciting or whatever. You can have self-esteem issues while you're doing this. Crank through the process anyway, so that you have your master resume, and then you will be super duper versatile anytime you choose to go on any job market. You will, and here's some ways, it will also reveal gaps in your skills. Doing this, you can see the kinds of themes that evolve, or the kinds of results that you have been achieving without even thinking in terms of results, right? Okay, so these are my natural tendencies. I would sort of like to develop more of this skill, or maybe you have a career path in mind and you see many elements of what you've done that are related to that career, but there's this one thing that keeps showing up, like, gee, I don't do this. So then you know, hey, if I just focus and add a little more of this kind of skill, if I achieve results in this sort of area, then I'm going to be a well-rounded applicant for that kind of position that I might desire. As a postdoc, I know you have no time outside the lab. I know this is not easy for you. You have it worse than grad students. Grad students have more opportunities to pick up new skills. They can even take classes. So you have it harder, but there are some things you can do. You already are. Look who I'm talking to. You are the postdoctoral advocates on your campus. The fact that you're here means you're already involved in postdoctoral affairs, so kudos to you. There are probably a lot of results that you've achieved in the context of your postdoctoral affairs work. And you can use ingenuity and creativity to identify skill-building opportunities within the project that you're working on as a postdoc. And think of clever ways to give the PI what he or she wants, while also getting you something you want. Think, okay, what motivates my PI? Obviously, get the study done. No, more nuanced than that. Like, as a human, this person, I've noticed he really likes to beat that one unit. He likes to compete with that other scientist or something. So that gives you a hook where you can say, well, listen, then you negotiate with him directly. And this can be scary, I know. But this is like the only recourse you have. Negotiate and say, look, if you let me work on this part of the project, or if you let me bring in this new analytical method or whatever, this is something that he's not doing, right? This lets you beat that guy and gets me something I want. See, this is the way to think about what are some of the results in your PI's mind, and see how the skill you want to develop, that you want to be allowed to work on, see whether there's any way that you can make a case that this thing can satisfy the PI's desires. So this is the strategy. You are smart enough to think about how to do it. Some PIs are just unapproachable. I understand that, and there's nothing that you or I can do about that. But really try to see if there's an opening for you this way. And lest you think that this is only relevant to non-academic careers, it is totally relevant even to academic careers. Yesterday, you could get by with teaching, researching, and maybe not being a total jerk to work with on committees, right? That was like, there were, a few academic skills that you had to be good at, and you didn't have to be necessarily like a super nice person. You didn't have to manage a social media account. You didn't have to do all these other things. But today, you do. The academic of today, this competitive and fast-changing environment absorbs the university system as well. There's much more competition for resources. Competition for grants is fierce. Competition for university resources, like which programs get to survive and which get cut, right? It's a more of a cutthroat environment even inside the academy. And being able to achieve results is going to help you make the case for whatever you want to either preserve or destroy in your institution, right? If you can achieve results like, well, hey, I got, 50 students to achieve this. That shows the merit of this thing that I care about, right? You can be an advocate for the things that you care about, even inside the academy, using this kind of results thinking. Let me tell you about Versatile PhD now. The PhD Career Finder, if you're on the website, you just simply click up here and you see this. This is a list. In your white folders, you have this card. And this front side of it basically duplicates, in a squished way, the PhD Career Finder. It is a list, an overview of some decent career paths to consider. The left blue side is humanities and qualitative social science, and on the right-hand side is STEM. I know social science is a boundary-straddling discipline. I know it's a big bucket. So if you're a social scientist, if you feel more like a humanist, then you will be interested in the careers on the left. If you feel more STEMmy, you're on the right side. You self-select. But these are career paths that PhDs go into and enjoy. If you turn the card over, the back side is the career paths that MyIDP shows, myidp.org, created by AAAS. It's a really great resource, the myidp.org, I think it's .org site, where you can go through a process by which it asks you questions and you choose a career and you identify what skills you need to build. It's a good thing and you should be using it. It's free. So this is a similar but not identical list to the Versatile PhD list. Hey, there's a lot of ways to taxonomize the world. This is mine, this is theirs. They're very close, not identical. So what? These are career paths that you can look at. And if you click on any of them, like let's say you clicked on data science and software development, the general information tab shows you what it is, like a very brief description of what the work is about, starting points, what kind of entry positions you might aim for as a PhD, advancement opportunities, what disciplines do best or are best prepared for this career, personality and outlook, maybe you can't see that, but like what kinds of people are happiest in this career, and then at the bottom it's how to prepare when you're still in grad school or still in your postdoc. And then when you click on this, real life examples, you get a list. This is the premium content that is available only by institutional subscription. Everything else I've shown you, anyone can access with a basic free membership. You just visit the site, join, voila. But institutional subscribers get these materials. This word on the actual site, we just changed it like 4 days ago. It now says resume, because people kept asking me, where are the resumes? Where are the resumes? It's like, okay, I guess I have to use the word resume. So there it is. It's going to say resume. And each one of these green resume items, it has what I call a hiring success story in it. It is, yes, it's a swath of text. Okay, we have to read to learn sometimes. There's a narrative written by the person, by that astronomer who was hired as a data scientist in finance, right? It's written telling exactly how he got the job. And then it is followed by their resume, the cover letter that they used, in many cases, the job posting, although not everyone is anal enough to save the original job announcements to which they apply. But when it's available, I include that, and the CV for comparison, even though the CV was not submitted for the job. This is an example of a hiring success story. This is that astronomer dude who became a data scientist. So it says here, it says a brief, here's his name, here's his degree, postdoc, and then he did the data incubator program, and then he was hired in 2014. So each of these hiring success stories depicts one real PhD getting his or her first post-academic job. Excuse me. And you read their own voice, telling their story of exactly how they got the job, step by step. Like, so I found this job on this website. I applied around March of 2014, didn't hear anything for 7 weeks. So I thought, they're never going to call. They called, and then they did this, and this is what they asked me in the interview, right? Step by step, the process of being hired. Another feature that's for institutional subscribers only is the power search. This page is what you get when you click on members, right? Boring member directory, so what? Well, the so what is for institutional subscribers. This otherwise innocent, unassuming little power search button is actually a rather awesome tool. It takes you to a search form that lets you search the 63,000 member Versatile PhD database for members meeting multiple criteria at once. Basic members only get the basic search, which is just a basic keyword search. So you're going to ask a haystack for a certain keyword, and it's going to give you a smaller haystack, but it's still a haystack. With power search, you will say, show me astronomers who are in the business world in Chicago, right? Location, general discipline, and what sector they're in. And it'll give you a much smaller little haystack. And then yes, there's a little bit of tedium involved. You have to read their profiles, and some of them don't really match what you want, right? But then there's going to be those 2 or 3 people who are like exactly what you want. Oh my God, I would love to talk to them. And you can, because they're Versatile PhD members. You can PM them through the site. And you don't have to be afraid, because they're Versatile PhD members too. You can say, hey, I found you on Versatile PhD. I'm really impressed by your journey. I would love to talk to you for 20 minutes on the phone. They will probably say yes. Can't guarantee it, but if they say no, so what? You ask the next person. Will all searches have results? No. Try multiple ways. Try multiple search terms and multiple combinations to get the best selection of people that you can. Oops. It's kind of like tapping into a network of PhDs and ABDs who are outside the academy, in non-academic jobs, eager to help you, wanting to reach a helping hand out to you and help you move along towards whatever your destiny is. That's what power search is. It looks like a little yellow button. It's really this. In addition, everyone, including basic members, gets to participate in supportive discussion forums. Excellent, excellent culture in the community that's on my site. Excellent. And there are jobs suitable for PhDs. The jobs are posted by members. I don't have an employee looking for PhD jobs and putting them up there, because I don't earn any revenue from the jobs page. But, so it's not exhaustive, but what it is curated. It is curated by the Versatile PhD community. If a job is up there, it means a Versatile PhD member thought this would be of interest to somebody else in the community. So that's not so bad. And there's a nationwide network of local meetups. Here in Detroit, there's a great meetup. There's in like 18 cities or something. Summary of my talk. You are versatile. You are already more versatile than you think you are. And it's a good thing, because you need to be versatile for whatever challenges are facing you, whatever direction you take, whatever pivot you make. You need to be versatile and show that you are versatile by using the language of results on your resume. Non-academic careers are okay. They are okay. No matter what your PI thinks, your PI is not your mom or dad. It is you who judges yourself. It is you who has to be okay with your choices. And there's a lot of exciting and fun work to be done outside of the academy, even outside of research. And you should make a master resume ASAP. It takes a lot of work. You can noodle away on it a little bit a day for a long time, and then you'll be very glad that you did. Thank you for listening. Open for questions. Yes, sir.
This might not be quite relevant, but during the years that you were building Versatile PhD, how did you fund yourself?
He asked me during the years while I was building Versatile PhD, how did I fund myself? I'm very fortunate I was married to an earner, and I had some support from my family as well, and I had some savings, which I used. No, I did not seek venture capital. This is a small, homemade cottage industry, Versatile PhD is. So, yeah, that's the answer to that.
Hi.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
Oh, okay, all right. Then if you have a question, there's 2 microphones on either side of the room, and we have plenty of time. So feel free. Sorry to make you walk, but mics are the way to go.
should I wait or should I begin? I don't want to scoop
Why
someone.
don't you
Sorry.
go ahead and speak?
All right, so I'm Katie Flint Im. I'm at Stony Brook University. We're premium members on the humanities and social science side. And my question is actually about that side. So I serve graduate students and postdocs. So one of my big challenges right now is talking about career planning and IDPs and things like that to all my graduate students. And I'm kind of getting no traction on the humanities and lettered social science side. And just one thing I've been thinking about is I've been thinking about the language that I use. I mean, I'm an astronomer by training. I live in the postdoc community, so I talk labs and PIs and sciencey words. And I know how much that shuts down people when they think you're not talking their language, even
Totally.
if the basic content is the same. I've been playing around with trying to steal words that I hear from the humanities side, like alt-ac, which
Yeah.
I have a fundamental issue with because I don't want to call them alternate careers anymore.
Okay.
And I noticed that you used non-ac.
And
I was just,
postdoc I sometimes use.
anyways, I was wondering if you had any sort of general advice to how to have some of these conversations with those students. And like I have my IDP workshops, and I got one English grad student, and I was so excited, and I'm going to pick his brain too, poor thing. But if you have any other advice, I would appreciate it.
Yes, you are totally on the right track, looking for the language that will connect with them. I tell you, as an English PhD, I visited the Maya IDP site because I need, as a professional, to know what it is. I was curious what it is. Totally, the language was like, this is not for me. This is not for me. So you are right about the language. And I would say listen to people in the humanities talking about careers. Listen in on conversations, listen on Twitter, listen to career counselors. If you have, what unit are you in? Are you in the postdoc office?
Yes.
Postdoc office, okay. Maybe find out if there's a graduate career counselor in the career center or in the graduate school, and have lunch with them, reach out and ask them this question. But you're absolutely right to focus on language and the assumptions behind language. Humanities students don't have labs, right? So even to use the word lab is like, it's
astronomers don't
instant
either.
exclusion for the humanities, right? And I know that's pretty obvious, but there is no magic pill. But if you speak in human terms, if you speak, because they are the humanities, okay, here's a magic pill. Speak in human terms more. Speak more in qualities and attributes and phenomena rather than numbers and facts and like this. So speak more qualitatively to humanities PhDs would be a good start. And anytime you can throw in a literary metaphor, by all means, don't stop.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Lisa Dennison. I run the postdoc program at a Max Planck Institute in Germany. So I was wondering...
Great. Wow, you came a long way to be here.
I came a long way. I was wondering about your users, both individual and institutions that subscribe. Are they mostly based in the US? Do you have some that are based elsewhere in the world?
I only sell institutional subscriptions to the United States and Canada, although I do have one in Australia. But I certainly don't sell to non-Anglophone countries, and the vast majority are in North America and really in the USA. I have 2 or 3 Canadian schools, but we would like to get more. But there just aren't that many schools in Canada either compared to the US. So our institutional subscriber population is really overwhelmingly American. Our basic member population, however, includes some people from Anglophone, English-speaking countries around the world. Some of them started here, became Versatile PhD members a long time ago, and now they're in Zurich, Switzerland, doing whatever they're doing there. So, and there are some people from other countries who have found Versatile PhD and joined, and that. So there's no like barrier or boundary, but there is a focus. I do think that the North American job market and the North American doctoral education experience is distinctly different from doctoral education, certainly in Europe, right? And so I don't want to sell to the Sorbonne University because in France, it's different in France. It's so different that I don't know jack about it, and I don't want to be selling something that I don't know jack about.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Diane Weiner, UC Berkeley. I was wondering about the master resume and how you might then translate that to LinkedIn or some of the other web applications.
The master resume is for you alone. I didn't mean to cut you off. Did you have something else to add?
Well, I was just curious because, you know, in LinkedIn, I mean, I guess all kinds of people are looking at you. And
Absolutely, that is
like,
true.
how do you want to promote
That is
yourself,
very true. LinkedIn is like a condensation of your favorite parts of your master resume. It is not as long or exhaustive as your master resume, but it is indeed, you're quite right, that on LinkedIn, it is not a targeted resume, like this is what I show when I'm applying for science policy positions, or this is what I show when I'm applying for technical writer positions. It is more generic than an actual resume that is submitted. And so you do have to think strategically about these three things. There's a master resume, which is your private document for you. And then there's LinkedIn, which is a selective subset of that, but not a slanted subset. Or you can slant it if you have a slant. If you know you want to go a certain direction, slant your LinkedIn that way. But then the actual submitted resume is really targeted.
Thanks.
Thank you for that question. So nobody's at their microphones. Should I feel bad about this? Well, okay, gosh, really? No more questions? I can't believe it. Okay, well, thank you for your time and your attention. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.